Something a little interesting that I didn't originally plan on making a video of, but I've decided to do it just off the cuff here because I was bored. These are two of my Sony Mavica cameras, the model MVC FD88 from 1999 and the model MVC FD90 from 2000, which I just made a video of. Both of these cameras use 4X floppy drives, and I mentioned in the video that I was kind of curious, wondering who made the floppy drives in these things, because, you know, it's a really odd part. A 4x speed floppy drive. It's not something you'll find in any computer. And I happen to know that in the original Sony Mavicas, the ones with the single speed 1x drives, Sony contracted the drive manufacturing to Mitsumi. Mitsumi made the floppy drives which were used in the original Mavicas, which I find kind of odd because Sony made their own floppy disk drives, so you know, you would have thought that they would have made their own, they would have used their own floppy drives in their own cameras, but who knows, you know, there was some reason for doing it. Possibly, it was possibly cheaper than manufacturing their own. It was possibly cheaper to hand it off to Mitsumi. But I thought, you know, the 4X drives are such an odd part, not one that would be mass produced for use in computers or anything. I wonder who could have made the 4X drives in these? Could it have been Sony? Or could it have been one of the other manufacturers, like even one of the common ones, like Mitsumi or Panasonic? Or could it be some strange manufacturer we've never heard of? Who knows? Part of my motivation to find this out is because V Westlife mentioned a company called YE Data, as they made USB 4X floppy drives, which I never knew. That's cool to know. They also made 1X and 2X drives, and I looked on eBay. There's a few of the 1X versions on eBay, but none of the 2X or 4X. So V Westlife suggests maybe this YE Data made the drives used in these cameras. Well, I've decided I want to find out, so in an unusual bout of self-confidence, I'm going to try and take these apart and see who made the floppy drives inside them. Now you may ask, why am I doing two of them? Well, as I mentioned in my video of this camera, the 1999 Mavicas and the Mavicas that came 2000 and later, they have different sounding floppy drives. The spindle motors sound different. The earlier units have a drive whose spindle motor indeed sounds 4 times higher in pitch, 2 octaves higher in pitch than a normal floppy drive. Well, these ones have a slightly different pitch. But what I'm going to do is I'll turn them both on, eject the discs first. Okay, and get out of that. So I'll stick the disc in here, and you'll hear the spindle motor. And I'll do the same for this. So you can hear they do sound different. So perhaps these have different drives from different manufacturers in them. Well, I'm going to find out. So wish me luck. I'm going to take both of these cameras apart. And hopefully we'll be able to see, if I get them apart successfully, who made the floppy drives in them. So I'm going to start with the FD88 here. So let's see if I can get it apart. Okay, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 screws to remove all around the perimeter of the camera. And I think it will separate. So let's see if I can get it apart and not destroy it. Oh, I don't know if I should pull harder or wiggle it. Well, you know what, I might not have to. We can see the floppy drive and the sticker on the floppy drive. I've got to use the Handycam's light to see by. Teac! It was made by Teac! Oh yeah, right there. It says right there. in plain sight. Right there it says Teac Corporation, made in Malaysia. I was not expecting that. It's just, I wouldn't have expected it. I would have expected either Sony or Mitsumi or that YE Data. So that's very interesting. Very cool. I wonder if I can get this thing all the way apart so we can get a better look inside. Ah, there we go. Okay. Oh, it's very nice to get apart actually. It's in two halves there. All the electronics on one side. Put it back in autofocus. All the electronics on one side and the floppy drive in the other. Let's take a look at some chips here. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of chips here. Date codes 1999, 1999, 1999. I see one Sony chip, NEC. That looks like it's a little F there. I don't know if that's Fairchild Semiconductor. Probably not, because they're made in Japan. Another NEC. Ooh, look at that big capacitor right there. Where is it? 300 volt capacitor. That would be for the flash. Here's the optical electronics. So the CCD would be on the other side of this circuit board. So that's very cool. Unlike the original Mavica, where the CCD was actually mounted at a right angle and a mirror was used to bounce the image onto the CCD, this appears to be a completely straight through system. Oh, very, very neat. Very cool that the floppy drive was made by Teac. So I'll do the best I can to read the part number that's on this drive. It's actually got a model number. It's FD-something. FD-something-something-40? God, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be either. If I was a kid, I might be able to do this better. FD-01H40. Let me look that up and see if it comes up with anything. Well, there you go. When you punch that into Google, you actually come across a Google Groups listing for someone who owns an FD83. And yeah, that's indeed the part or the model number of the drive. It's the Teac FD-01H40. Someone who apparently needed a replacement for their Mavica. Wonder what year that was from. 2001. Well, I actually found the service manual for this camera online, but it gave no information as to the manufacturer of the floppy disk drive. However, I was able to identify some of these chips. This chip right here is 16 megabits of dynamic RAM, so 2 megabytes. So that's probably where your picture is stored before it gets written to the floppy disk, and where it's stored when it's read from the floppy disk in the play mode. This chip right here, oh by the way, that little F logo, that's Fujitsu. Should have known that. But this chip is 8 megabits, so 1 megabyte of flash memory, so that's probably where the camera's operating software is stored. This chip right here, I wasn't able to find much information on, but from what I could find, it is probably a programmable gate array. So that's been a custom programmed CMOS logic there. This chip right here is another dynamic RAM chip, I think. I wasn't able to find any data sheet, but it's a Fujitsu part, and the part number suggests that it's a dynamic RAM chip. I was able to find other parts with different but somewhat similar numbers, and they were all dynamic RAM chips. That's all the parts I could identify on this. The CCD right here, Sony model CD-228. So there's that. So I'll put this thing back together, and hopefully it survived the operation. And now, before I put it back together, I'm going to take a picture of it just for memory's sake. And kind of funny, I'm going to take it with this camera because this one's getting pulled apart next. Did the patient survive? I would say so. Yes. Not a problem. Well, as you guys should know, I'm trying to sell this thing. Now somebody's gonna buy it from me. Uh, because, you know, now this is something that I've taken apart and put back together without destroying it, so that's gotta be worth something. Well, good. On to the FD90. Alright, as for this camera, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a screw there without an arrow pointing to it, so I'm going to not take it out. 7, 8, and I think that's it. So I'll take those 8 out. I'll leave this one be because there's no arrow pointing to it, so that usually suggests that it's not a screw that's holding the case halves themselves together. And see if I can get this thing apart. Okay, screws are out except for the one without the arrow. Let's see if this thing pulls apart without exploding itself. Oh yeah. Oh, way easier than the last one. Wow, it's a lot different looking in here. Oh no, I can't see a part. Oh dear. This isn't good, and the reason it's not good is because the floppy drive is totally obscured by a circuit board. First, let me see if I can get that ribbon cable out. Alright, let's take a look at this thing. This thing is built way differently than the FD88. It's totally different inside here, and I just don't mean not only the physical layout, but the electronic layout as well. There's much more integration here, not as many big ICs. There's some little ones, but those would be things like probably op amps and stuff. But there's only a couple of big ICs here. There might be some on this board, like hidden under this RF shield perhaps. Date codes, I see 1999, 2000, 2000, 2000. Yeah. So here's the problem with this thing. The floppy drive is on this half, under this circuit board. Lots of ribbon cables, way more cables and wires going everywhere than the other one. It turns out this whole assembly, I did remove a couple of connectors, but this whole assembly, circuit boards and all, lifts up. So I think I can gain access. Yes, I see a sticker. What the heck? Also Teac. Holy cow. Teac model FD-02H. Teac Corporation, made in Malaysia. Oh, you know what I'd like to find? The memory battery, because this one has a dead memory battery. Well, because I'm dumb and don't know when to stop, I did manage to get the floppy drive totally removed. So there's all the information on that. And still couldn't find a backup battery. And I found the service manual. And the service manual mentions nothing. Well, it makes one direct mention about a memory battery. It said that error information is backed up by the backup battery. That's the only mention of the backup battery it mentions, is that it keeps error information intact. Woohoo. But then I found, in an exploded view of the back portion, I've got a little hand pointing to a tiny disc-shaped component, and then the little hand says BT701 lithium battery, PK board on the mount position. Great, that tells us a lot. What I think it's saying is, I think on the other side of this board is the backup battery. So what I'm going to do first is put this part back in here, just to get that out of the way before I forget how to do it. And then we'll take a look at this end, see if I can get this board out, and see if there is a lithium battery on the other side of that. Yep. Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. It's a Panasonic battery. I think the weld on it is covering a part number. Although maybe that BT701 in the service manual, maybe that is the part number. Let me look that up. See if I find anything. Well, I can't find anything about that battery. The BT701 doesn't seem to lead anywhere. There's no other mention of it in the service manual. Now I see why people say Sony's manuals suck. So I wonder what a Sony engineer would have done back in the day if you sent one of these in because it wasn't holding its memory anymore. I wonder if they would have actually replaced that little battery, or if they would have replaced the whole board. Anyway, yeah, I'm done frigging around in here. I've probably broken this thing 1,000 times, but I'll put it back together anyway. And we'll see if it still works. Oh, by the way, that connector right there, nothing is connected to it. And it's actually accessible via this little panel right here. I would assume that's where a Sony engineer would have plugged something in to diagnose the camera. Perhaps the camera provides error information through that port. And perhaps firmware upgrades may have been done through that port. Alright, it's all back together. Now let's see how badly I broke it, or if I missed any connectors, or both. Wow, I am amazed. Well, look. Oh no. Oh no. There is nothing. It is getting no information from the CCD. Did I miss a ribbon cable? I sure hope I did. Just a moment. Yep, I sure did. Well, now we know what a Sony Mavica does when you just disconnect the CCD. Let me fix that and then we'll come back. Okay, let's see how it works now. Oh no, are you kidding? Oh, there we go. Hey, Macarena. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would say that's probably... it's probably fine. I actually haven't put the screws back in yet. Oh, good. It looks all fine and dandy. There. I feel like I have a special bond with this camera now. Like I have a relationship with it now that I've violently fondled its innards. Well, I figure as long as we're on a roll, why not kill 3 birds with 1 stone, or get 3 birds stoned at once. And let's do an FD75. This is the FD75 I'm trying to sell with the broken battery door. We might as well find out who makes the Teac drives. So let me do the same thing and see what we find. Well, here's the FD75 opened up, and it opens up way differently than the other ones. Like everything, the lens assembly even stays with everything else. So there's lots of cables, so I'm not gonna get into this too far, but if we open up the right part, there, it's also a Teac drive, model FD01H. You know what, I've got to see if the FD71 also has a Teac drive, because this is the oldest of, this is older than any of the cameras we've looked inside. This is from 1998, and although it's almost identical to the FD75, it is 3 years older than the FD75, and actually the floppy drive sounds exactly the same, so I'm guessing it's a Teac drive. But I figure what the heck, I'll open it up and see if I'm right. Nope, exact same Teac drive in this one. Well, there's your lot. It looks like, although Mitsumi was contracted to make the floppy drives for the original Mavicas, the FD5 and the FD7, Teac was used for every Mavica thereafter. And all the 2X drive Mavicas all use the same drive, but it seems Teac changed their 4X drive around, well, presumably the year 2000, because the 1999 models with the 4X drive have a different Teac model number than the 2000 and up models with the 4X drive. So it's been very interesting to be able to pull all these apart and learn this. Very, very, very interesting. So if you were ever curious about that, there's your answer. So, Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later.